What happened to Devin Haney? We all know what happened last year. Ryan Garcia completely embarrassed Haney and sent him to the canvas multiple times. Even though Ryan would test positive for steroids, it did not change the fact that Devin Haney got beat up pretty bad. But he makes his comeback this year, gets a fight against Jose Ramirez, which he just fought last night, and we thought, okay, this could be his tune-up before we get that rematch for Haney versus Garcia. I knew ring rust will play a factor, but in a way that would have slowed him down or messed up his timing a little bit. Something that he could have just picked back up in the 6th or 7th round. But that was not the case. He was completely gun-shy all 12 rounds. Now, he was always a boring fighter, but that may have been the most boring 12-round fight I've ever seen. Haney was scared to throw his jab the entire fight and just scared to let his hands loose. And when he did throw, he landed some pretty good hooks, but the amount of circling, the amount of hesitating, the amount of flinching he did against a C-level fighter like Jose Ramirez was just embarrassing. And I know Ramirez was not a good fighter, and I know we did not expect much from him, but he fought dumb as well. Ramirez had Haney circling the entire fight, had him gun-shy, and had him in the ropes, had him trapped in the corner multiple times. Yet Ramirez would just stand there and wait for Haney to do something while Haney was on the ropes. That's the perfect opportunity to attack. That's a perfect opportunity to press. You want to have your opponent on the ropes. And when Ramirez had him on the ropes, he was basically doing nothing, basically giving Haney the opportunity to fight back. I can't just blame that on Ramirez. It really should be his corner as well, really hammering that down. Ramirez is a Mexican fighter, so go with the Mexican style. A good fighter implementing that Mexican style against a guy like Haney trapped on the ropes, circling around, scared to fight, scared to throw, always flinching. A Mexican style would have taken Haney out easily. But of course, just that wasn't the case. Ramirez fought pretty dumb with that. And, Haney could have really lost that fight had he just fought a smarter opponent who was not scared, who was ready to walk you down. Before we continue, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, that's Hayabusa, some of the best boxing equipment out there. Make sure to use the code ALEXD, ALEXD, to get 10% off your order. But that was just a disappointing fight from Haney, and of course a disappointing night from the whole card in general. I thought that we were going to get a much bigger card. We all thought. I'm going to be making more videos, so make sure to check out my reactions for a Teofimo fight and the Ryan Garcia fight. But with Haney, of course, this was just disappointing fights all night long. The whole build-up for this card was to get that rematch at the end of the year with Haney and Garcia. Of course, it was before the Garcia fight. I thought to myself, Haney, you shouldn't even have to worry about this rematch. Just let it go, all right? Save your brains because you're not ready. All right, because obviously I was hyping up Ryan Garcia. I thought he was much better than what we saw in the ring, of course, with Rolly Romero. But I thought, okay, if he's scared, if he's flinching, all right, he's gun-shy against a guy like Ramirez, imagine what Garcia's going to do. Steroids or not, you could put a 135-pound Garcia in there without roids, and he would have knocked out Devin Haney. Now, of course, I was thinking that before we saw Garcia. That could still be possible as well. I'm not going to judge off one fight. I won't necessarily judge the Haney fight off just one fight, right? I'm not going to judge what Haney does in the future off that one fight he just had against Ramirez. But if he's going to be doing that consistently, if he's going to do that in the next fight, well, he might not ever win a championship again. He's not going to beat Ryan Garcia if he fights like that. Now, if he changes things up, he gets in the lab, gets more confident, makes his opponents respect him, well then, yeah, he could beat Garcia. He could win titles again in the future. But doing that, especially at the heavier weight division, I think it was a catchweight, but basically welterweight, he's not going to win no welterweight title. He's not beating Boots. He won't beat Teofimo, all right? He won't beat a Garcia that I thought Garcia was, just rolling on the ropes, being gun-shy. Ring rust could play a factor. Okay, I get that. But a year? Come on. When you compare the ring rust of a year to older fighters, right? Just fighters before 2020, they weren't having that bad of signs of ring rust, right? Haney was only out for a year. Not even a year. Okay, and he was that gun-shy. It can't be happening. It was a bit embarrassing, I have to say. I'm not going to completely hate on Haney already. He needed that fight, and I'm sure they're going to go over it in the lab. Sugar Shane Mosley was in the corner this time around. I don't think he really did much, okay? But I don't know. How much did that really play a factor between the corner and the fighter? All right, I'm sure it's a bit of both. I'm sure it's mental, right? Garcia beat him bad. Garcia messed with him. Haney faced a lot of hate on social media from around the whole entire boxing world. He was embarrassed that night last year in May when he fought, or April, whenever that fight was, last year. He was embarrassed, and I get that. It messes with you mentally. But you had the year. You're in that ring. He seemed pretty confident outside of the fight. Him and his dad, of course, his dad's so annoying, Bill, always chatting, always yapping, always saying stupid stuff. But they seemed confident, but in that ring, it was completely different. I don't want to hate Haney. I don't like him as a person at all, right? The stuff he said about white people before, the stuff he did with Loma, pushing him in that press conference, I also thought he was robbed. I thought Loma was robbed against Haney. It's pretty bad stuff, right? He was pretty racist too towards white people. What I mentioned about the skin color, okay, saying he'll never let a white boy beat me, all that stupid stuff. I hate when boxers do that. Andre Durrell did that. Bernard Hopkins did that. Race stuff in boxing, so corny. Race stuff in general in the world is so corny, but that's besides the point. So I don't really like Haney as a person, but as a fighter, I mean, he was a talented fighter, very good defensive fighter, very good jab. So I don't want to see him diminish that quickly. He's still young, former undisputed champion, okay? He can still do some damage, but you know, he can't be that gun shy. He needs to be confident. His team around him needs to be better. His father, I know his father's never going to shut up, but his father's going to need to start coaching and get him not to be gun shy, get him confident. So let me know what you guys thought of that fight. What should Devin Haney fight next? I don't know. I don't think that rematch is necessary, but I don't know anymore since Ryan lost. I think Ryan's going to fight probably Rolly. Haney, I wouldn't really stay at 147. I know it's going to be hard to make weight. I would at 140. I'd prefer him to stay at 140, but it's going to be hard for him to make that weight. Probably going to have to fight around 147. Keep fighting tune-ups. Keep fighting steel-level fighters till you get that confidence, man. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Make sure to subscribe. Best boxing content on YouTube. I'm out, guys. Peace.